All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome to our newest podcast. Again, I'm Roddy, and today we're doing a little bit different. Landy couldn't be here, so we're with our first guest, Don. And we're just going to talk about things in Mexico, how we got here, and again, just kind of our opinions on how we feel about things.
Sure.
So, Don, I don't know, maybe you'd like to introduce yourself first?
My name is Dawn. I'm from Brooklyn. You probably can tell from the accent. I'm 48 years old, and I came to Mexico almost 2 years today.
2 years, okay. And so, what kind of initially brought you to Mexico?
Initially, what brought me to Mexico was the idea of affordability.
Okay, which I think is pretty common for most people, right?
Sure.
I think that's one of the big reasons a lot of people come here.
Sure.
So besides coming to Mexico, let's get to kind of know you a little bit more.
Sure.
So we can start with some basic questions like, what are some books that you like to read that you would recommend? Or let's say maybe right on your coffee table.
The Time Machine, H.G. Wells, because most people problems require a time machine.
What do you mean by that?
Well, a lot of times issues that present itself today didn't start from today. So
Okay.
you would need a time machine to go back to where the issue initially presented itself.
Where it actually started, and then
Correct.
hopefully, if you're knowledgeable enough, that you can correct that mistake.
Well, no, it's when you're dealing with people you can't.
Okay.
Right. So sometimes people have, time machine issues, H.G. Wells.
Okay.
And being able to know that, and just being able to be their friend, but being able to know that you might not be able to fix those issues because those issues go too far back in time.
Too far back. Okay, interesting. All right, so we have Time Machine. Anything else? Any other books you like?
Maybe Animal Farm.
Oh, Animal Farm. Yeah, that's an old classic, right?
Yeah.
And so, what was it about Animal Farm that kind of brought it to mind? I sense a theme here.
Animal Farm kind of reminds me of now. Now, we have like a lot more equal rights, but everyone is equal, but not as equal. And how you had like Napoleon and Snowball, and the four-leggeds was equal, but not as much as the two-leggeds and that. So, and now with the current political environment, when you say everyone is equal, if you have to say everyone is equal, is everyone really equal?
Is everyone really equal? Yeah, true. I mean, yeah, like I said, I think these kind of both the science fiction type stories and books, there's always, especially now, it always kind of seems like they kind of have come a little bit more true as we kind of progress in time.
In time.
Yeah,
Sure.
Very interesting. Okay. What about people who have influenced you? Any other, any mentors personally, or just, want to say personalities that kind of have influenced, who you become today?
I've did my mother and father, no.
Other than your mother and father? Okay, so obviously, family is very close, or very influential. Mom and dad.
Well, they just left, so they was here the beginning of April. And I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they were here in Mexico. They visited.
Yeah, they visited.
Did they enjoy it?
No.
No.
But they enjoyed seeing me. And they really came to, I'm like 48 years old. And they came to fact check, because no matter how old you are, your parents are going to come and fact check. So they wanted to see if it was safe. They wanted to see if it was nice. So it was probably more so to see me, but a lot more so for their comfort level.
Okay. And so, I mean, I guess besides maybe the idea of it not being safe, what else did they, or do you think they maybe did not like about it?
Oh, they like it for me.
Oh, okay.
But they don't like it for them.
For themselves. Okay.
Sure.
And where were they coming from?
Brooklyn.
Oh, so they're still in New York.
Yeah, they're still in New York.
Because I know you mentioned you were born in New York, but you've traveled quite extensively for work.
Yes.
Where else have you traveled to?
Asia, Pakistan, India, China, Thailand, England, Italy, Germany,
Okay, this is
Belgium, Russia,
okay,
Bahrain, Qatar, Afghanistan, Kuwait, Oman, Canada. Mexico, Bahamas, and there's probably some stuff
other
I'm
ones
forgetting.
there. All right, now I know you said a lot of those was for work, right? But was it all work, or was it a bit of work and pleasure, a little bit of mix?
Well, no, I traveled a lot on other people's dime because I was paid to be there.
Perfect.
So some places I was there for myself. Like when I would go to Thailand, I would go to Thailand and get suits made because they have beautiful clothes in Thailand.
Sure,
right? Yeah. When I went to China, I was studying for a CCIE exam. I used to be a senior network engineer.
Okay.
And I was studying for a CCIE exam. And my particular trainer that I picked was there. So I spent 2 months in China. So that was obviously
which part of China?
Guangzhou.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a little bit familiar with China, obviously, with Landy being from Shanghai.
And that trip, that was kind of interesting. My mother accompanied with me in that trip, and she didn't like there either.
No. Are your parents kind of like the homebody, like the USA?
No, not at all. No? Not at all.
They just didn't happen to like here or there?
Well, she didn't like, I don't think she liked China because it was a 13-hour time difference. And that was, that was very hard. And Guangzhou has lots of smog. Mm-hmm. So for the days that she was there, she never saw the sun. Yeah. And I think that affected her because her house is so bright and the sun is always there. So I think for her not to see the sun kind of affected her.
Yeah, and I think so. I think that would affect anybody. Yeah, I know. Right. Kind of east coast of China, all those big cities are very polluted. I remember when I lived in Shanghai, same thing. You'd go out and it's supposed to be a clear day and it was just, you never see the sun. I remember my cousin came to visit me once and the same thing. She flew in and she thought it was fog. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, that's the smog, not fog. I was like, yeah, get used to it. It's a big city. So, and enough of those places. I know everyone always wants to hear about your favorite place, right? But let's kind of go the opposite. Of those places you've been to, traveled to, whether it's business or pleasure, what maybe was your least favorite? India. Curious. Why India?
Hygiene.
Okay, which I've heard. I've never personally been there, but it kind of comes across on videos and from other people who I do know travel. I think they kind of hear the same thing. Hygiene. All right, so let's kind of switch back and coming into Mexico. So you said you got here in 2020?
Well, I bought this place in December of 2020.
Okay.
But I officially moved here in May of 21.
Okay. And so far with your time here in Mexico, what have you enjoyed the most? Besides affordability. Because we know it's affordable.
Safety.
Safety?
Security, although they're not one and the same, but both of the same. Weather. Safety, security, cleanliness.
Yeah, I think the area, Querétaro is kind of known for everything you've mentioned.
Yeah, very clean. And I think I like that they're not overly polite because I'm from a big city originally.
Yeah.
So I don't like all that politeness. It seems odd.
So you think here they're a little bit still more, I don't want to say standoffish, but a little bit more distant? You get that feeling here? Okay. Correct. Now, had you been to Querétaro before you moved here? Or you just I know you mentioned about the house sight unseen. So you just kind of came to Querétaro and said, this is it?
This is it.
And so what in your research, or how did you research that kind of made you decide Querétaro is it?
I saw a video. What is his name? Bobby Brown Travels?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay. And it's funny. He had a video, and I think the video I saw might have been one of his older videos.
Okay.
And it was a flat to this developer. And, he had it there for like 40-something thousand or whatever. I said 40-something thousand. All right.
Can't be.
And there was a gentleman inside of the video named Barry Lippman. Mm-hmm. And Barry Lippman, he lives here.
In Central, right?
Yeah.
He's a realtor?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, I think I met him.
Older gentleman?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and he was inside of the video. And I was able to contact him. And I said, hey, are those places still available? And he said yes. And, him and I are both from New York.
Yes.
And he told me that, he drove here, which he was my inspiration to drive here because I drove here.
Okay. It's a good drive.
It took us 4 days.
Yeah.
But, and that's basically how it happened. And he was like, well, listen, lots of developments. However, this is going to be a good development for the price. And he said the one good thing about this particular developer is that everything is equipped. Because, you know, sometimes you can buy a place, but the carpentry and everything is not included in that price.
We ran into that.
Right. So for this price, everything was all included.
Okay.
So that was pretty good for the price that I paid.
So just watching an online video, he said, that's the place I want to go to.
So that might have been November 9th.
Okay.
Of 2020.
So right when the pandemic was starting, just kind of creeping over.
Yeah.
Year before,
Yeah. Well, we're still in the first year.
Yeah.
Still in the first year of the pandemic. That might have been November 9th. I spoke with him. He put me in touch with a woman that's Angie. Me and her are still good friends today. And November 10th or the 11th, I put an earnest.
Oh, okay.
So the decision was made then. And then my home was a little bit later in the build process. So December 23rd was supposed to be the closing day.
Okay.
And I paid cash for the house. And they was requiring the rest of the payment. And I said, well, shit, let me go see what I'm paying for, because I have to give them
the rest of the money.
So that's why I came down in December of 2020 for about 8 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got a little feel for the city and the area?
Yeah. It's well, you know, most of these things wasn't here when I came.
Oh, okay.
Right, because they were still building up this development or this whole thing, right? So it was nice, but not as nice as it is today.
Oh, okay.
Right, because the shops weren't there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Same when we got here. There was very few shops when we first came in.
And now it's, you know, full of shops, and it's very vibrant and it's very pretty. But the good thing that I would say about Mexico is they do their common areas kind of first, and I kind of like that, because it was really great that we had all of the walking spaces and all of that was already in place.
Like, you mean here or outside the complex?
Outside the complex,
oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one of the things that attracted us to this. We're actually neighbors.
Yes.
Which is kind of odd. Our first guest we talked about, we literally live right across the street from each other.
But we didn't know that.
We didn't know. But I think, that's one of the things that we talked about. We've talked about it in other videos, is we love the park out there. It's beautiful. It's one of the longest ones, biggest ones. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
That's one of the things that attracted us, especially with Louie.
I know.
It's good to have a little green space for your kid.
Yes.
That's great.
And they keep the lawns pretty manicured. It's beautiful.
They do. Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons that we picked here, and that we're happy that we're still here. They do keep everything very well manicured, you know, inside the neighborhoods and outside.
Right.
You know, so you came here. Were you retired, or are you still working?
No.
You haven't decided yet?
You know, when I said that I'm here because of affordability, how that makes sense is because there's no mortgage.
Right.
There's no car note. So even though I have my car is paid off.
Sure.
I have my home here, is paid off. So that makes it affordable. That also, you know, I can live here for say $600-700 a month, sometimes more, sometimes less. But nonetheless, so that's what makes it affordable. So as far as work is kind of up in the air, I don't kind of have to. Not to say that I may not ever need to, but I don't kind of have to. So, you know, I'm just doing my thing.
So I know we had this conversation earlier, which I know sometimes people like to talk about it as far as, you know, expat or immigrant. You know, I know we had a very good talk about it. So would you consider yourself an immigrant or an expat?
I would consider myself an immigrant here because I'm not company sponsored here.
Okay.
So when I think of an expat, I think of a person who's company sponsored that's working in another country. The reason why I say that, because years ago when I worked in the Middle East, I was in fact an expat. Here now, I'm here on my own dime, on my own time, and I chose to migrate here. Now, for work purposes, immigrate. So yes, I'm an immigrant.
Okay. Yeah. And I would kind of consider ourselves, you know, our side the same. You know, I know a lot of times people use those terms interchangeably. I know sometimes there's differing opinions about that. And for some reason people get heated about it. I don't see, to me, I don't see the big difference or understand why people get, to me, as long as you're here and you're enjoying yourself, enjoy yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, now I know sometimes people come here, you know, and they get their residency which I think is the more proper way to go. And I think sometimes people come here, and just they kind of live. They come as tourists, but they want to live here.
Well, I was illegal for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I just got legal in March.
Okay, you got your residency?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And when I came in through Laredo. They never stamped me.
Okay, I think you have to stop in the little building.
Listen, they told us to go.
So you went.
Listen, first of all, they were asleep. They was the Mexicans was asleep. The U.S. was asleep. Everybody was asleep. It was about 6:45, and they were all asleep, and they was up. But it was still hot though, strange as hell. So it was like
welcome
early.
to Texas and Mexico.
Oh my God. So it was so early. They were sleeping. I kept showing because, I came in with a tip, transportation import permit. Mm-hmm. I had to pay all this money for these silly dogs of mine.
Oh, yeah.
So I came in with all of their health certificate paperwork, spent like $500, did all of these things. And they was like, look at here, just go.
Yeah.
And then we came back and they was like, look at here, just go. And then after a while, he was like, look, go. So it was like, oh, okay.
That's how it's going to be? Then I'll go.
Right. After that third go, because he was getting flustered, and I was like, well, wait a minute now. Maybe I need to leave this man alone.
Yeah. I don't want to push my luck right now.
Sure. So because I wasn't stamped in, I didn't have to stamp out. But then something happened, and I had to go to the States. And when I came back, they gave me a 30-day visa.
Oh, okay.
Which is, guys, you don't want that 30-day visa.
No.
So they gave me the 30-day visa, and just so happened, I qualified for a program that they have. And the program that they have is if you was in the country one time before December 31st, 2021,
okay,
you can get your temporary residency. So now I have a 4-year residency.
Yeah. Which, I think that was right around, I think it also had something to do with COVID, wasn't it? Not like it was some kind of leniency program?
Yeah, like a leniency.
Right.
Yeah, which is cool. Because originally, now I am not broadcasting for anyone to do in the way in which I did. And the way in which I did is how it turned out. Because originally, when I came, I was going to come into the country, probably get with a visa specialist, and was going to get a visa. But realized that since I wasn't stamped, and I'm not new to traveling, so I'm not scary, I kind of knew hey, I ain't got to do none of that shit.
Yeah.
So I did it. But do not do it that way. Do it the correct way.
Good advice. Yeah, I think so. Okay, so now you've been here in Mexico a little while. You bought your house. I know we're getting to something else we talked about. The kind of the home buying process, and I think you even enlightened us. I mean, we deal with a lot of housing back in the U.S. We know definitely how that works. We bought a house here, and then you were talking about the kind of a piece of paper that you have to have again, which I was not aware of. Maybe we have it, maybe we don't. I need to find out, but maybe kind of take us through the home buying process, because I know a lot of people out there consider wanting to buy a house when they come to Mexico. I think because, like you mentioned, it is affordable, and maybe less affordable now, but still.
Okay, well, and this is my experience. So normally they're going to ask you for an earnest deposit, and that earnest deposit, depending on the build, and that's supposing if you're getting something new. A private owner may charge a different price, but normally the earnest deposits are anywhere from 15,000 to 25,000 pesos.
Right, pretty affordable.
Yes. Shortly after that, they're going to ask probably for a 10 to 20% deposit, depending on where the home is at in the build. For you guys who are thinking of coming to Mexico and you're thinking about, wow, do I have all of that money? What you can do is you can buy a home that's latter in the build process or in a second stage. So that this way you can continue to pay while they're waiting to go to that phase. Right. So that can be done.
Kind of like an installment plan.
Like an installment plan. Because my home was a little bit latter in the build process, my payments became a little bit more expedient.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a document. It's called the SRE Articulo 27.
No.
What this document does...
Pay attention to this one, because this is the one I need to find out about.
Yes. What this document does, and this is for the landlocked areas. And what I mean by landlocked areas, I think maybe 50 kilometers from sea.
Right.
So what the SRE Article 27 allows you as a foreigner to take ownership with permission from the Secretary of Relations of Exterior, something like this. And this allows you permission to own the home as if you are a Mexican and up under this country's right, not up under your country of origin. So in other words, you get to own your home like a Mexican. And one good thing about owning a home in Mexican, I just paid my taxes in January, and my property taxes was only $180.
Amazing, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I know. I said Texas, our taxes are outrageous. You know, so yes. When we got our same bill, it's like, what?
Yeah, it's great. And if you pay in January, you get a 20% discount.
Right, that's right. I think every month for January you get a bigger discount, in February a little smaller, and I think up to March, I believe. They kind of give you a little bit less discount, but the sooner you pay it, the better. And
there's also a document, a factor or something. There's a document that as long as you own the property for 3 years and keep utilities in your name for those 3 years, you won't pay a transfer tax.
Right.
Yeah. So that's
we've heard about that one.
Yeah. So that's
when we thought about selling our house wasn't under the 3-year limit yet, but people told us about that. And again, now that we're back, we definitely know about that, and we've kept everything under our name for that reason. So it's a way to save a little bit of money if you ever decide to sell your house down the line.
Down the line, sure. Sure. What else was I was going to say?
Sorry, go ahead.
Sure. The homes in Mexico, at least in this part of Mexico, is what I can talk about. The homes are pretty good. Now, you have to understand Mexico in general. Mañana does not mean tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay? Don't have anyone come to your house on Monday, because they're not going to show up. Don't start no work on Thursday, because they're not going to show up on Friday. And you just have to know that. And as long as you know that, life would be better.
Yeah.
So
if you definitely learn, if you don't have it, you definitely learn patience here in Mexico.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I said, I know Landy, and she'll be the first one to admit to it. It's something she had to get adjusted to, because she is also a very if you tell me something at this time, you better be there. And here, you learn real fast.
No.
That's not going to happen.
No. And, they'll say 5 minutes, and 5 minutes is an hour.
Yeah.
20 minutes is maybe 2-3 hours.
Ahorita. Right? Ahorita vengo. I'll be there in a little bit.
No, you won't.
Why are you lying?
Yes. So that's what I would say. But, for those of you who want to buy a home to whatever you're willing to pay for, because most of the times you're going to have to buy it outright. But there's other ways that you guys can be creative. Mm-hmm. You guys have 401ks. In the United States, you can take out a personal loan. I don't work for Lightstream or SoFi, nor am I affiliated with them, but both of them will give personal loans up to $100,000. So you guys need to maybe think about that as far as making things work.
Oh, that means so you're talking about, or the possibility of just taking a personal loan out in the U.S. and then using that money to buy a house here?
Well, yeah, they can do that if they wanted to.
They want to, right? And I'm sure the interest rates are much better. I know that's one of the things here in Mexico is you can get a bank loan approved, but I know interest rates here are extremely high. I know people right now back in the U.S. are freaking out about 6-7%. I think here they can go they start at 12, 13, 14%. Right? So if you can get something better, maybe have a little bit of a nest egg, plus 100,000, you can buy a nice home here in Mexico.
Yes, especially. And remember, I would say this to all people that's planning to come to Mexico. Nobody's coming to visit you. So don't go and get these big places and have all of these rooms because nobody's coming to visit you. And whoever's coming to visit you is only going to spend with you a few days. So don't get yourself overboard because then you have to furnish all of these rooms.
And there's Airbnbs and there's hotels right down the street.
Right, and nobody's coming.
we always talk about that, like, because we like to watch HGTV and stuff, and people always talk about that, like, oh, I need 2-3 bedrooms in case when friends and family come to visit. We say the exact nobody's coming. Nobody's coming. Maybe coming. once a year. And
once a year.
Yeah, and is it really worth getting all the extra space?
No,
get the hotel.
Get the hotel because remember, the bigger the place, and then you have to clean. Okay. Uh-huh. Now I do have cleaning service, right? But you have to clean here, okay? Mm-hmm. Because it's dusty.
Yeah.
Okay. So, get your space in your place to a size that you are comfortable with cleaning. Because you really have to clean here. You have to mop, you have to sweep continuously. And don't have no pets. Because I have 2 pets and they're just as filthy as can be. And there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, they're gonna get dirty, and they get dirty back home. It's just like everything else, like you mentioned, especially here in the middle, because it's very like desert-like.
Sure,
there's just this dust constantly over everything, and it's gonna get over everything, and it's gonna get on top of your dogs.
And they're gonna track it in, and it's nothing that you can do about that.
It's an ongoing battle. You're never gonna win.
No, you're not gonna win.
Yeah, it's good. I think a lot of people do consider buying homes here. Again, I think like a lot of people, the smart thing is maybe come and possibly rent first. I know you're a little bit of the exception. You just came in and said, nope, buying a house.
Well, I'm glad that I did it that way because this for 80 is great.
Yeah.
This is now upwards of 130-ish, like 120 on the high 120s.
Right.
I like this at 80.
Yeah. And she bought this house at 80,000, which is a very nice home for 80,000. Amazing.
Right. But for what it is today, is that still a good price? Yes. However, 80 was better. So
it's one of those things like, knowing now, what if you'd known then what you know now, you may not have bought it at that price. But, if you're looking at it only today, maybe it's a good price. But knowing that you bought it for 80, I think it's always going to be in the back of your head like, no, I wouldn't buy it for 130. I got it for 80.
Right. So I would suggest to people who are planning on coming, for people who are planning to come and planning to buy, like I said, remember this, and this is very caveat here. I know that you have people that are maybe 60, 61, and they're not necessarily ready to retire yet, and they have 1 more year or 2 more years or whatever have you. Like I said, you can buy a property that's later in the build process, but you can secure a price today. And I think that needs to be said so that people can understand how they got to move. So it doesn't mean that you got another 1.5 years to retire and you have to start 1.5 years from now. No, you can buy a property that's in its 2nd or 3rd phase. So by the time you finish, but your price would be secured today.
That's true. That's actually a very good point and good piece of advice, right? Because you can lock in the price at today and then move in a couple years later down the road. Yeah, that's true. Never thought of it in that perspective. So for any people out there who may be thinking about that, very good point.
Yes. And one good thing about the developments here, you really don't have to worry about them not building your home. Right? Now, I don't know about the custom builders, so I'm a little partial. I'm more partial to being in a place that's already developed because developers have money. Custom builders and contractors got to get your money to go finish building the previous house. So keep that in mind. I'm talking about developments. And I understand you guys are going to be like, well, you want to be in authentic Mexico and you want to be, not around cookie cutter. And he would tell you all of our neighbors are Mexican.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a good point. I mean, people always talk about the real Mexico, and I'm like, 99% of my neighbors are
Mexican.
Yeah, so I don't know how much more real Mexico you can get.
I don't know. So I'm just going to say, hey, they move out of Central to move here. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and I think that speaks a lot to Mexico in itself. They always talk about that kind of developing middle class, right? And it's very
developing.
Evident. Yeah, it's very evident.
Oh, they good.
Yeah,
they built. They're not developing. They're built.
Yeah,
and that's another thing. These people have a lot more money than what you think, and they do very well. They do very well. Don't think. No, at least in this state, they do very well.
Right.
All of my neighbors have 2 cars, and I think like the oldest cars are maybe 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have brand new cars to late model cars, and 2 of them. And they have a home here and a home in Mexico City and a home elsewhere. So these people have 2 and 3 homes.
Oh yeah, I think two of our neighbors who are very close to our house.
Sure.
There's probably more in our neighborhood, but I know for certain 2 of our neighbors are from Mexico City, and this is their getaway home.
Getaway home. Sure.
Yeah, coming to Queretaro.
Sure.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess just kind of speaking to that. I mean, is Mexico up to this point kind of what you expected?
Yes.
So what were your expectations coming in? Or did you have any expectations?
I really didn't have too many expectations. I've been to too many different places. So the things that might impress people, like Central, everyone says they love it. I'm like, what's the point of that? Maybe it's just me for mobility issues. I don't like walking on cobble. So yeah. So for me, that's a turn off. But I guess there's beauty in it or whatever. But as far as expectations, I don't think I really had too many. I knew that it was safe. I knew that it was going to be secure. I knew that I wasn't going to be affected by any natural occurrences.
Oh, like natural disasters.
Right. Yeah. Maybe earthquakes, maybe hurricanes, tornadoes. We don't really have too many.
Not here.
No.
I think the biggest natural disaster we have to work with is dust storms.
Just dust storms.
Just the dust.
Yeah, just the dust.
So very safe. We've always talked about that. No hurricanes, no earthquakes, no anything. No forest fires because there's no forest.
Right. No anything. And the good thing that I would say about here is, sometimes I come in at 3, 4 in the morning. Not that I'm a partier, but I don't have to worry about in my car because I'm elsewhere and I'm going in my car at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. So it's definitely a great level of safety that's unparalleled.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things you always hear back in the U.S. is how dangerous Mexico is. But again, Querétaro is considered one of the safest states and cities in Mexico. I know things are different in other places. I'll let y'all decide which places those are. But again, as for here, we've always felt the same. Very safe, very secure.
Very safe, very secure.
Like you mentioned earlier in the interview, very clean.
Very clean.
And the climate's great.
The climate is wonderful. It's safe, it's clean. The climate is wonderful. You don't have to feel threatened about natural disasters, natural occurrences. And also, I'm a single female here. And that was important to me, that level of safety. And also remember, safety doesn't mean if someone's going to stick you up. Safety also means like, do you have to evacuate because a hurricane is coming? So that's all a part of safety.
Like road conditions, right? That can be all those can be.
The roads are beautiful.
Yeah,
good roads.
Very well kept.
Excellent roads. Yeah. Excellent roads.
Okay. So we have kind of your expectations. Is there anything that has kind of surprised you, anything that was unexpected, about being here that you weren't? Oh wow, you know what I mean? Unexpected.
Unexpected. I want to say this in a way, and I might get a backlash, but I want to say this in a way. In Mexico, if they make a mistake, they have a problem with shame. So when doing business of any sort, they may or may not do it, and they may or may not acknowledge that they did not do it, and they may or may not take accountability of not doing it. Mm-hmm. So it's very kind of different here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's okay to lie to me if I don't know it's a lie. It's like, okay,
yeah,
you do know I was there, right?
I saw this happen. Yeah, that's true. Because I know, again, coming from the U.S., I know that's very much part of the culture when it comes to business and anything. I mean, most businesses will say, we're wrong, we'll take care of it, we'll fix it. For the most part, of course, there's dishonesty everywhere you go. But I think, when you're coming from like big stores and exchange something or whatever it may be, they're just gonna be like, yep, our problem, take it back, no big deal, here you go. Right. Now again, maybe difference with different sectors of the economy, but I think I know what you mean. Sometimes it's not easy for them to say, I was wrong.
I was wrong. And also be very careful here. Make sure you decide on prices beforehand.
Yes.
Yeah, so always decide on prices beforehand. And if you're getting any kind of work done, and even for you people who will be coming that will be living in landlord's property, they're not going to fix it for you. So you're going to probably have to get you a good handyman or woman, but get you a good handyman, a good handy woman, but make sure that it is clear what the prices is prior. And one thing that I would say this to everyone listening who might be coming to any part of Mexico, buy your own supplies and pay them to do the work. Do not let them buy the supplies because they would buy substandard supplies and you're only going to have to redo it. But if you buy the supplies, you know how much you're paid and you'll know. Because one thing that they do here, for you guys who may want to paint, buy your own paint because they will water down paint here. So buy your own paint.
Yeah. I think that's something true. And they may charge you a premium for lesser quality material, possibly.
Yeah.
And I think I noticed that just even around Mexico in general, I think sometimes, this again, something else that we've talked about, ourselves, me and Landy, is that they're always seeming to fix the same things.
Over and over.
Over and over. Like the same thing. Like whether it's a concrete or a wall.
Over and over.
Like, why don't you just do it better the first time or buy better quality material the first time?
Right.
And I think a lot of it is that. I think, like you mentioned, is they're just, not that they're not doing it well or right. I think they're just buying substandard material. And it breaks down quicker, and then they got to fix it again. Like, weren't y'all just working on that same issue like 2 months ago?
Right. Yeah, and it's so true, So unless you want to pay every year for the same incident, so just buy your own material.
Yeah.
Buy your own material. And you may have to supervise the work. So supervise the work. And that's in the States as well, right?
Sure, yeah, of course.
Yeah, but definitely supervise the work, and buy your own material.
Okay, good. Good advice. I think that's true. Like you said, whether it's here or back in the U.S., definitely the ideas to kind of keep in mind. So let's kind of moving forward, just kind of winding down slowly. You've been here for a little over a year now, right?
2 years.
2 years now. Yes, I'm sorry. So, have you traveled anywhere else in Mexico?
Cancun, Playa del Carmen, Merida.
All the beaches now. Yucatan.
Pueblo, because I had to go to IKEA, and Mexico City didn't have what I wanted. What is it? San Luis Potosí.
Oh, San Luis Potosí?
Yeah, San Miguel. And there's another place I've gone to. I'm trying to remember. Now, that's easy for me because I drive.
And did you drive all the way to the
No,
that's too far. I was like, that's a drive.
No. But I would say to people, listen, bring your car. Just don't bring your best car. But bring your car. And the roads are good. But bring your car. And, you'll be able to, in Mexico City.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been in Mexico City. But bring your car because you'll be able to go, kind of wherever you want to go. That's, 3 to 9 hours, away. Mm-hmm. And depending on where you live, and sometimes I take Uber, I take Uber if I don't know where I'm going and if I don't believe that there'll be parking. And Uber can really be expensive depending on where you live.
Mm.
So I guess the people who live in Central that don't venture out of Central, I think they don't have any problem.
Not as much, yeah.
But if you live in any of the surrounding areas, they try to call these the suburbs. This place ain't that big. It's only like 15 minutes away from Central, but I don't know why they do that. But Uber sometimes can be expensive depending on the time and the day.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, yeah. We run into that, but like us, but we're kind of the same. We have our own car, so it makes it easy to go. We don't have to wait on. We're not on anybody else's schedule.
Sure.
Right? We want to go at this time. We go. Like but when we went to Mexico City, we drove there. But once we drove there, we used pretty much Didi,
right,
to get around because Mexico City is just crazy to get around. You're not as familiar, and like we're not familiar with parking, all that stuff. So we just said, you know what? Let's get a car, much quicker, much faster. It makes life easier.
Right.
Okay. So you have these places you've traveled to. Any kind of future travel plans? Any kind of wish list, or you just kind of see how things come along? Any other places you want to see?
Not really. The travel bug is probably far gone from me. I got an opportunity much younger to have a good job and to be able to work in different locations and because I was in certain locations, it was easy to fly to certain places for my vacation and stuff. So I'm past the travel bug, and you people like to think that there's differences. No. I have this saying, I meet the same people just as some people talk funny. So no matter which country I go to, it ain't but so many kinds of personalities, maybe 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Maybe 8 or 9 at the most. So, how many waterfalls you gonna see?
Right. How many beaches are there? There are different shades of blue.
Right.
But I definitely agree with that sentiment about, there's only so many people out there. Like, I come from a teaching background. So when I would teach for years and years, as I got more experienced, that was something I'd always tell my students. I was like, I've met you before. You're not going to throw anything at me I haven't experienced in some form or another. I know who you are. You just maybe a different face, a different way you speak, but I know you.
Right.
I've met you.
Yeah.
That's definitely true. And I think as you get older, and I think for someone, as experienced traveler as you have been, and like we're as fortunate to be, I think it kind of kills that little travel bug a little bit more because you've seen a lot. You've been to a lot of places. You've experienced a lot.
Right. And these days, I really don't like flying anymore. So when I was younger, I probably didn't like it, but I didn't mind it. But now that I'm older, it's like not every time I fly, but every third time I fly, I get a cold. I may get a headache. I may get a toothache. So flying does a lot more to my body than what it used to. So, this is just coming from a woman who's close to 50. Right.
As we get older, right. I know the feeling.
Right.
We're getting there.
But for you younger women and men, go and travel and do as much as you can. And I would tell anyone who's coming to Mexico, the younger ones that are coming to Mexico, get your remote job before coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just go on and get your remote job. Right now, the employment is geared towards remote anyway. So it's very easy for you guys to get your remote job. But get your remote job before you come. And it really wouldn't matter what your remote job paid because you'll be living here. So just go on and get you a remote job. And it's best for you to get it in the States because they're going to ship it to the address that you give them inside of the States. So secure your remote job before coming. And I guess that would be my... Oh, and one other thing. If you flaky, right? Okay. And you guys know if you flaky or not. So for you flaky folks, don't come here and buy all of these furnitures and buy all of these major appliances, knowing that there's a tendency, but that you might be gone in 3 months to 15 months. Because for one, you're going to put your life on hold. You're going to have to go back to the States and start all over again, which might set you back 2-3 years.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what you guys need to do is just buy, or should I say rent a furnished space. Right. So do that.
Which is a lot more accessible here in Mexico.
Yes.
I know.
And the
I'm
furnished
assuming things are
spaces are
different.
nice.
Yeah, they're nice. Like I know
Yeah,
back in the
very
States and
nice.
stuff, you don't tend to see as many furnished places. Here is very common.
It's very common.
So yeah, it makes it very easy to move in, right?
And I think on the rentals, a furnished place might only be like $100, $100, like somewhere like $100 more.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're only going to be here for 12 months, that's only $1,200. But if you have to buy all of these things, that might be $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. And for those of you who's not going to listen and are going to get those big empty places, remember, you got to furnish them.
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget, nobody's coming. So get a smaller spot.
And save yourself that little bit of money.
Correct.
Absolutely. No, well, I mean, that's great. I think that's good advice. I think sometimes people need to hear that, because they have expectations when they move to another country, whether it's Mexico or anywhere else. And then and again, traveled a lot myself. And I'm sure you've probably seen this also from your experiences. It's just, we run into a lot of people like that. They come, you meet them, everything sounds great. And then a couple of months, whether they don't like it or they get sick or any other myriad of things that can happen.
Oh, they leave without telling you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's happened plenty of times.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, and one other thing. Remember this. Always make your always make your major purchases when the exchange rate is favorable for you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's a difference.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Especially major. I know we actually did that with our house. We kind of waited, we knew what we had to wait. We knew what we had to pay, and we knew it was coming up. So for 2 weeks, we watched the exchange rate, and we had alarm set. If it hits this, that's where we're going to go. And luckily, we knew it was a little bit more favorable at that time. But again, still a very good piece of advice.
I think today is what? I think it's under 17.5.
Well, drop that low. I know a few days ago it was like 17.9, 17.8. So 17.5.
I gotta check this 1 second, because it was so crazy when I saw it. 1757.
1757. Yeah, it is still dropping. The US dollar is still dropping. Good for the peso's still good.
But listen, you see, and if you own your house in Mexico, although it's bad, it's great.
Good. Right now it's good.
Right. So, you can kind of be for the dollar and for the peso.
Yeah. Right. You talked about, because we ever do sell the house, it's actually better if the peso is lower to the dollar. Then you get more money out of it. So it actually kind of helps you with the equity even more. Down the line, if you ever want to sell it.
Right. So, depending on how you're looking at it, it can be good. At the same time, you might still get a Sunday.
Yeah. Okay, great. I appreciate the time. Any last questions you wished I would have asked, or anything else or any last piece of advice you'd want to give? I know we already given great piece of advice. Great. Any last words of wisdom or questions that you wished I would have asked? We can talk about.
Well, I guess some pieces of advice. If you have certain cosmetics that you like, if you have certain shampoos for the women, if you got certain conditioners, if you got certain lotions. If you got certain makeups for women of color, bring all of your hair products with you, because they're not here. So bring all of your hair products with you. For women that are bigger in size,
or guys,
or tall like me, you're not going to be able to go too much shopping here. So for people who have big feet, luckily I don't, but if you have big feet, you want to buy all of your shoes. Yeah, you want to buy all of your shoes, your undergarments, these really important things. You want to bring that with you. Also, select what items you want to bring. A lot of people would tell you to sell your stuff and come. I'm not a minimalist. I don't think you should be either. Find your mama and put it in her garage. Don't sell all of your stuff. You know, if you know you need to purge a bit, fine. But that wholesale, each and everything you own, I think that could be a little dangerous. So don't do that.
Yeah.
You know, in case you have to go back or something.
That's what I was about to say. I think that kind of goes back to what we were saying. You never know when things happen, whether you flake just because you're flaky, emergency, this, that, and now you get to start all over again.
And remember, we are in a foreign country. So at any point in time, the temperature can change. Right? So don't knock off the US like I'm never going back to the US. Because if melee comes here, you're only going to go back to the US.
Right.
So, you know, keep these things in mind, that no particular space or place is ever permanent. And be fluid, but be fluid with direction. And like I said, some of you guys need counseling. So go on and get your counseling before you come. No, I'm serious, right? Because if you was depressed, you know, in Chicago, you're going to come here and you're still going to be depressed.
Absolutely.
So this change of location is not going to make and solve your issues. So, you know, Time Machine H.G. Wells, some of your issues go way back. Get counseling. It's very important to one's livelihood.
Right. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. You know, couldn't agree more. Right. You know, whatever issues you're going to have, you're always going to bring them with you. You might change the scenery temporarily, and it might improve your mood temporarily, but it's still there, and eventually it will resurface.
It will resurface, and I think that's why some people are able to. Oh, and one thing. Okay, I talk a lot, but I'm going to stop. Listen, if you guys is looking for a community, you're not going to kind of find it here, right? Okay, so I want you to know that and understand that, because we don't all live in the same building. And this is not 227 and we have cookouts. It's not that way. So if you are looking for that type of, now what you can't do, I would say, is if you got a friend and you and your friends are on the same wavelength, then maybe you and a circle of folks that's agreeable with you, maybe you and that circle migrate here. But if you're looking for a community, you may or may not find it, and you might find it to be quite lonely.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there are these expat gatherings, or whatever you want to call them. But again, just because they have them doesn't mean you're going to agree with everybody, get along with everybody.
No.
And again, especially somewhere like Queretaro, I think in particular, because it is not a big expat, immigrant hub.
No.
So we are a little bit more far and few in between,
and we're all spread apart. Because, look, I would have never have met him. We would have never have ran into each other. All right? And we live, I can throw a rock.
Probably 200 meters away from each other.
Right.
Across the street.
Right. And he can throw a rock. Right? So what I'm saying is, don't think that you're going to come here and you're just going to walk around and see and meet people, because it's just not going to happen in that way. So, really get to like yourself. Because if not, you gotta get here and realize that you don't like yourself, because you're gonna wind up spending a lot of time with yourself.
Right. So all good pieces of advice. Well, and so again, I want to thank you, Don, for your time and letting me come over, kind of change things up a little bit. And again, our first guest, very interesting ideas, and again, very good advice for everybody out there. So I just want to thank you one more time, and thank you to everybody out there watching. Again, if you have any ideas, comments about what we've talked about, we always want to hear from y'all. And so thank you, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.